I just saw The Mandalorian and Grogu, and here are my spoiler-free thoughts. I'll probably post a spoiler-full version in a day or so, but I'm not going to retread the same ground, so watch this one too. Because my main takeaway is that despite what the critics have been saying, the movie is good. Not great, but good. And I do wish it were more. I am a little frustrated with what I feel are some easy missed beats. You know, I know that Jon Favreau is capable of more than this, and that's frustrating because what it is a very serviceable and very fun action movie. It's entertaining, there are several creative set pieces, the choreography is always very good. I thought that the CGI was mostly really fantastic. There are a couple of moments that were a little bit weaker, but on the whole, I had very few complaints about the effects works. And the plot itself was a fun, serviceable adventure. You know, it moved from beat to beat. It brought you along several interesting and varied worlds through different experiences, putting you up against a bunch of bad guys for the Mandalorian to fight, which is kind of the core of what was enjoyable about the series to begin with. But there was another key thing. As a writer, I firmly believe that the main pillar of any story should always be character. Everything should derive from the characters. You start with what they want, and you get them to what they have. And unfortunately, that's the biggest area where The Mandalorian and Grogu is lacking. Din and Grogu both are fairly static in this movie. They don't have any real tremendous character arcs. They change a little bit, but it's just not enough. Rada the Hutt, ironically, has a bit more of a character arc, which I think is sort of highlighting that exact issue. And he was very fun, although I do feel like Jeremy Allen White was a bit miscast. I like a lot of the direction they took with Rada's character, but I don't like that he just talks like a fairly regular guy. He has a very casual manner of speech that feels even more out of place for a Hutt than Speaking Basic does. Like, he can talk in English, but he should speak, you know, fancifully. You know, I want Rada the Hutt to say, like, what brings you here, Mandalorian? Instead of like, hey, what's up, dude? How's it going? This was my biggest concern going into the movie, and it's a little frustrating to learn that I was right to be concerned about it, that the movie doesn't really have a strong emotional through line. It does lightly touch on some of the things that I hoped it would, but I was kind of hoping that there would be more. Quite frankly, most of the emotional beats can be seen in the trailer, and I think that's a big problem. That said, outside of that, there isn't really a lot holding the movie back. The rest of it is very functional and very entertaining, so it's tough to rank it lower than any of the Star Wars movies that have, like, actual gaping issues. The series, unfortunately, does not have a very high par for quality. I've said before that it's kind of two really good movies carrying a lot of movies that are kind of flawed, and this is now, unfortunately, in that latter camp. I did overall enjoy it, and I'm sure I'll like it even more on rewatches because I won't be expecting it to be anything more than it is, and I will just enjoy the fun ride with some likable characters and some very entertaining action set pieces that all worked really well, but I'll always wish that it could have been something more. Right now, I'd give it a 6 out of 10, but by the next time I watch it, I think it'll come up to a 7. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but it's fun, and that's not the end of the world.